latest apparent terrorist attack comes less than an hour after two planes slammed into the World Trade Center in New York. President Bush promising to get even there.
And have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families, and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act.
The West Wing of the White House, the Capitol Building, and the State Department have been evacuated. The FAA has grounded all takeoffs from all airports nationwide. Now, that includes Orange County, John Wayne, LAX, all the local airports as well. Live in L.A., Jennifer Bowman, KFI News.
KFI News time, 7 o'clock. The news this hour brought to you by Cintas. The apparent terrorist attacks are, as Jennifer mentioned, putting a stop to all air traffic in the United States. For that part of the story, let's go live this morning to KFI's Mike Nolan.
Yeah, good morning, Ken. Yeah, every airplane that is airborne will continue to a destination. I've not been able to confirm if they will continue to their original destination or if they are being ordered to the nearest airport. But I can tell you this, once an airplane lands, that is it. That airplane is grounded. I'm talking to Burbank Tower as we speak as I fly through their airspace. If I were to land at Burbank right now, I would be grounded. I would not be permitted to take off. So that would be all aircraft, airplanes and helicopters. Once they touch down, they will not be permitted to take back off. Now, in the case of uncontrolled airports, for example, the one that I fly from, we have not received any official word, but it sounds to me like what they're looking for is a complete grounding of all aircraft worldwide, or nationwide, I should say. But I can tell you for sure, all airports, every single commercial airport in this country has a ground stop right now. Every airplane that was going to depart will be grounded. Every airplane that is airborne will land, and that'll be it as far as air traffic is concerned.
All right, thanks, Mike. We're going to switch live to Fox News.
There was debris falling, I'd say at least three-quarters the height of the building. People within the entire perimeter began literally, including myself, which is why I'm out of breath, to run for our lives. And I am now standing in a black cloud of smoke left over from the debris. There's soot. It's difficult to breathe. People ran into nearby office buildings once they got out of the danger zone just to be able to breathe. I'm on a payphone on the street right now, and I literally cannot see more than a quarter block away. That's how thick the smoke is. I'm on Murray Street.
We are carrying Fox News live. One of the World Trade Center buildings just collapsed. The entire building collapsed. There is nothing left of it. The whole thing just came down. They reported explosion at the base that took out the foundations. And if you can imagine, the whole building is now down. One of the world's great skyscrapers has collapsed. Let's go back to Fox News.
What happened that you're describing, it happened just moments ago. It sure appears that the building simply collapsed David, if you're still with us, please keep on the line. It appears that the building simply collapsed of its own weight, that there was so much damage from the heat of the fire. As I said, steel will melt. The second, that was the building that was hit by the second plane, the plane that we actually saw hit the building live during our coverage. That is the building that has just collapsed. Now, it bears noting that plane seemed to come in at a lower altitude. It hit the building lower down, and there was that tremendous fireball. So the damage to the building came at a point where there is much more weight on top of it, and those steel girders, strong as they are, had a lot of weight to support, and apparently, I'm not a structural engineer, but I'm just guessing now that they gave way. Loss of life here is going to be enormous.
May God help those who are there, and the victims and their families, and all the souls that are lost today.
I think it's safe to say that virtually every family in America is going to be touched by this disaster.
This is what the terrorists back in 1993 tried to accomplish when they drove a van laden full of bombs into the garage. And apparently they were successful. John?
Let me bring in the former governor of New York, Mario Cuomo. He's with us by telephone.
All right, we're back to KFI AM640, more stimulating talk radio. Bill Handel, 7:04 in the morning. The latest bit of news, if it can get any worse, it just got worse. Not only were the two buildings, the World Trade Center buildings, attacked and the Pentagon attacked by airplanes, suicide airplane pilots flying into them, the second building, the one with the smaller plane crashing into it, the entire building just collapsed. The entire World Trade Center building literally collapsed.
And there were some reports of a possible explosion at the base of that building. Bill,
Yeah.
It's a little hard to believe that it would come down unless there was something to take out the foundation.
That's true, because that was the fire was so high up. It's 60 stories up, would certainly not cause the collapse of the building underneath that. So you can't even imagine the number of people that have died and have been hurt. And they're going to be pulling people out of there for the next several months. This is an extraordinary attack on us. War has been declared against the United States. It's just that simple. Let's go to Fox News right now.
To me, it sounded like an explosion, then the building, the rolling sound sounded like the building collapsed.
Were there other people? There must have been a lot of people on the ground nearby when it happened.
Where that happened, there was mostly law enforcement. I don't think there were many civilians there. I don't know.
Don't move, Pat. How many people would you say were on the ground when the building exploded or collapsed?
Law enforcement, over on that corner there, I don't know. There might have been 100, 150. I don't know.
What's your full name, officer?
Police Officer Gronowski.
All right. Thanks a lot. Good luck.
All right. We're back. This is Bill Handel, KFI AM640, more stimulating talk radio. If you've just tuned in, I have some horrible news for you. The United States of America have been attacked by terrorists in a way that has never before happened in the history of our country. 3 airplanes. 2 airplanes into the buildings of the World Trade Center, plowing right in. 1 airplane hijacked from Logan Airport in Boston, ostensibly full of people. A 767, which holds some 230, 240 people, into one of the buildings at about 80th floor, just plowing into it and causing unbelievable damage. About 10 minutes later, this is about an hour ago now, airplane number 2 goes flying into the second building of the World Trade Center, and a fireball is seen, and that's about the floor 60th. And then about half an hour after that, another airplane, a large airliner, it's reported, is crashed into the Pentagon. And then just a few moments ago, literally not 8 minutes ago, the second building of the World Trade Center has collapsed. The entire building collapsed. World Trade Center building, one of them, is now on the ground, filled with people. Let's go directly to one of the victims.
Everybody took cover to run. We ran down the subway, but the dust followed us down there.
Were there a lot of people in the subway?
No, not that many, because they already had evacuated before.
Did you see people, anyone in danger, anyone getting hit when this?
Not back there, yeah, but I was running. I mean, there was nothing you can do because you just saw the thing coming right over.
Were you able to see the tower after?
No. What do you mean, since it happened now? Since the fire?
Look at this guy. Unbelievable. The streets have been shut down. There was very little traffic on the streets except for emergency vehicles going one way or the other. So there was not a lot of vehicle traffic in this area, but there were a lot of pedestrians on almost every single corner taking photographs and just looking at the building, which was still smoking and still on fire. A lot of police officers had the
officials up there that were right near the building.
Where were you when the explosion occurred, when the plane hit the building?
I saw it from my office, as a matter of fact, down the Lower East Side.
So you came here?
Yes.
To check it out?
Help. No, what do you mean? To see if we can help, but this is...
Yeah. This poor woman. Wow.
Rick Leventhal is the one reporting on the ground. He's not able to hear me at this moment. But Rick...
Just the sound of a plane.
Okay, this is Bill Handel, KFI AM640, more stimulating talk radio. If you've just joined in, just before 6 o'clock our time, 9 o'clock this morning, the first attack on the World Trade Center took place as a 767 airliner that had been hijacked from Boston Airport went into the building at about the 80th floor in a suicide attack upon the World Trade Center. We're now finding out an attack upon the people of the United States because not 10 minutes later, a second airplane then crashed into the second building of the World Trade Center, causing, of course, unbelievable amount of damage. This was seen by people literally all over New York and all over the world. And then half an hour later, give or take, A third airplane, also reported to be a large airliner, then in a suicide attack, hit the Pentagon building. We have no idea the kind of damage that caused, but as you can imagine, an airliner crashing into a building that long, that wide. It's not a high-rise building. It simply probably cut a huge swath right through the Pentagon. And then not 10 minutes ago, one of the World Trade Center buildings simply collapsed. It is no longer. The entire building collapsed. 110 stories. It is on the ground, the entire building. Literally, if you're seeing anything, people are covered with dust all over the city. It is beyond belief as to what happened right there in New York. They've shut down, of course, airports all over New York. The Pentagon, they're rescuing people as we speak. The White House has been evacuated. The Capitol is being evacuated. Airports shut down all over the country. I heard Ontario Airport has just been shut down also. L.A. tactical teams are on alert. We don't know where and when the next attack will be anywhere in the United States. Remember now it's Washington and New York that have been attacked. With us, Fred Ebert. Fred, good morning. Welcome to KFI. Not such a good morning.
No, it isn't a good morning, Bill. I'm sort of sitting here in shock. I've got the local news on, and I'm looking at one of two twin towers still smoking like a matchstick, and it's positively shocking. Although I did predict that this would be the war of the future, terrorism, and would have nothing to do with strategic missile defense systems. You're looking at World War III right here.
Fred, let me ask you, when they shut down airspace around a city like New York and Washington, which New York has already been shut down, I'm sure we're going to hear any time that Washington will also be shut down. What does that mean?
It means that no one can fly within if you look at aviation maps, there'll be a certain zone set for aircraft to enter and exit New York airspace. No one may fly into that.
What happens if they do?
Well, I would assume that the National Guard has scrambled jets. I see some helicopters are in the air. I assume they're police helicopters and are there for the purposes of spotting any incoming planes.
So is it safe to say that they're now been given orders that anybody who, in fact, is violating airspace will simply be shot down?
Assume they would be warned and would be flanked by our military planes and asked to identify themselves. And if they did not answer and were flying toward a building or New York or flying into Washington, they would be shot down before they could get there. Yes, that's true. But I believe only the president can give that order. But he's got to be in a bunker someplace. He has one of 17 or 18 places he can go.
Yeah, from what I understand right now, he is on Air Force One returning to Washington.
Right.
He's on the airplane right now, which of course is the flying White House. I mean, he has full capabilities. He knows everything that's going on. He has full communications capability, and I'm sure he is directing what is going on from the Air Force One. Is it also safe to assume that he is flanked by military jets, and if anybody approaches that airplane, it'll be shot down instantly?
I would assume that it has so many jamming devices on it, nobody could shoot it down. It would be very difficult to lock a missile onto it. It has too many protective devices aboard, but I would assume in a national emergency, yes, it is most certainly flanked by our naval or Air Force jets.
So what do we do now, Fred? The next step, the government is, I'm assuming, figuring out, first of all, who did it?
Right. There are probably two terrorist cells that have enough clout and enough money to pull this off, and certainly Osama bin Laden would be my best bet. And they'd be looking there first, but even if they determine Osama bin Laden did it, the question is, how do you ferret him out of hiding in the mountains, which is what he's done so successfully for the last few years.
All right, Fred, thanks very much.
You bet.
I appreciate it. We don't know yet who did it. We're being very careful not to assert blame to anybody at this point. Let's go back to Fox News.
For me. In 3, 2, 1.
We have admitted that they behave like children. So putting the fingers inside a mousse, chocolate mousse, it is completely normal.
All right, we just went to the wrong feed real quick. Here we go. Let's go back.
See anyone around you getting caught up in it?
Yeah, I was with the firemen. We got hurt. We all went inside to this dark. We was inside the building where everything happened, but we came out alive.
What's your name?
My name is Dr. Angel.
Were you able to assist anyone before this happened?
Yes, I did. I help a lot of patients. A lot of them.
Well, there are a lot more people that need help now.
Need help,
so
yeah.
if you're capable, maybe you should.
Yes, I'm gonna go back. I lost my ID, but I try to go back.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot for talking to us.
All right, we're taking bits and pieces of Fox News. There are a couple of reporters there who are interviewing people that are going in and out of buildings. Right now, as you can imagine, if you have any view of this, all of New York in and around the World Trade Center is full of white dust. It is still all over the city. It almost looks like a forest fire with this white billowing cloud, except the cloud is dust that has lifted off the ground after the collapse of the building of the World Trade Center. At this point, no indication at all as to the number of victims. The bottom line, it has to be tens of thousands. We're talking about a major building that was attacked, and less than an hour later, the entire building collapses. Now, keep in mind, it's a building that has several 100,000 people in the building, and they were in the middle of evacuation as the building collapsed. So we don't even know the number of victims. Lisa Meyer, who is AP Radio in Washington, D.C. Lisa, thank you for joining us here at KFI.
Hi, Bill.
All right. In Washington, how are they reacting right now? Any news of how extensive the damage is at the Pentagon building?
At this point, no. Basically, because there's a cordon of security around the building, we can tell you that when the plane hit the building, that there are eyewitness reports of it being a fireball. We can also tell you that major buildings in the city are now being evacuated. The State Department has been evacuated. The Capitol is now in the process of being evacuated. Everybody's been moved away from the White House, at least one block, in some cases more. Treasury Department also evacuated. Everything being taken as a precaution because officials, very honestly, aren't exactly sure how far this may go.
Now, is it fair to say, then, safe to assume, that the running of the government of the United States has been shut down completely today?
I think that would be an overstatement because there are plans always in abeyance for things like this, and we are talking to intelligence officials who say that this is a carefully coordinated attack. It's something that they drill for, that they prepare for, and that things are still taking place, but what they want to do is to err on the safe side and basically keep people safe.
All right, so the government is still functioning. I mean, the United States still continues to function on a day-to-day basis. The important core elements of the running of this country still continue on without interruption.
Absolutely, because there's always a contingency plan in effect.
All right, fair enough. Now, where are you located right now, Lisa?
Right now, I'm pretty much in the downtown area, K Street.
And what are they doing? Are they what do you see in terms of the evacuation process going on?
Well, from this vantage point, we're several blocks away from the White House. I can tell you that a lot of people are leaving work, obviously as a precaution. Traffic is pretty much snarled at a standstill. A lot of emergency vehicles in the street, and there are a lot of people, very honestly, that are standing in groups talking about this because it's such an unimaginable thing for most people to try to grasp.
What do you see in the air going on? Do you see any military craft in and around the various governmental buildings?
Not from where I am. Basically, the area that we're in is north of the White House, and much of the activity that we're talking about would be going on right around the White House. We really can't see much of anything from here. There's nothing perceptible, let's put it that way.
Does there appear to be panic at all in the streets? How are people reacting to this?
I think panic would be a way overstated word to use. I think concern.
Okay.
People are concerned. People are standing in groups just talking about this because it's so difficult to try to get your mind around. You know, I mean, we live in a country where we like to think that this thing doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, it certainly has. Lisa, AP Radio, thank you so much for joining us in Washington, D.C. Dave Gorob, Jim Cramer's producer, once again in New York, who joined us earlier. Hello, Dave. How are you?
Bill, how are you?
Yeah, now, you, last we talked, it was before the collapse of the second building, and were you able to see this?
Couldn't see it, but certainly felt it. Again, we're about 5 minutes away from the World Trade Center as a walk, and the collapse, it felt as if it was outside our window. It was that strong, and the feeling was that of bracing, as if what's about to happen? Are we about to go now too? And this was probably maybe 20 minutes ago now, and just literally now we were first able to see out our windows. It was smoke coming into the building. Again, the street covered with litter and soot. And just now we're starting to see outside there are people walking, but the collapse was a feeling that you were just hoping and praying at that point.
It's what is the feeling you have? Are you in touch with any officials? Are you in touch with anybody else who may have been working at the World Trade Center? Because I'm assuming literally tens of thousands of victims must have been in that building.
There have to be, Bill, and I've not heard any official numbers yet. We're just getting information like everyone else. Luckily, our phones somehow are still working.
And by the way, is the stock market closed down?
The stock market has to be closed now. I don't know if there's been as much as an official proclamation yet, but it's impossible that the market would even open today. There's just too much activity outside, too much fear.
Okay.
And literally looking down on the street for the first time in 20, 30 minutes, we could see outside. There are people walking, but everything is covered in soot. It's as if a snowstorm had just come. It's covering the windows, covering the streets, and the feeling now is there something else about to come.
All right. Thanks so much, Dave. We'll be back with you, Dave Gorab, who is Jim Cramer's producer, the gentleman who heard 1 to 2 on KLAC. Of course, our financial expert here on KLAC, and has been many times on our show. It's just been reported that the hijacked flight, that first airplane that flew into the World Trade Center, not the building that collapsed, the building that's still standing, the first one was a 767 American Airlines flight number 11 flying from Boston to Los Angeles. It was on the way here to Los Angeles. So I'm assuming it is safe to say that we will be hearing fairly shortly the number of local victims who were on that airplane. I'm sure we'll hear them on tonight's news as the story unfolds. We're also going to hear the magnitude of this crime. It is one of those things where there will be so many people who were killed, so many tens of thousands of people that were killed, that we won't even begin to feel the magnitude of this until for several days probably. Leaders of Congress have been taken to a secure location. We are already assuming that the United States is under full attack. That's the way the government of the United States is handling it. Bottom line. Also, there are rumors of Sears building in Chicago being hit as well. At this point, has not been confirmed. But at this point, we're going to be hearing a lot of rumor and a lot of speculation. I will tell you, even though we talked to the lady reporter, Lisa Myers from AP, that there was no panic. You tell me there's no panic in the streets of New York. You tell me there's no panic among the family members who said goodbye to their loved one this morning and off to their very secure, very high-paying job in the financial area of in the World Trade Center. For those that just tuned in, the United States is under attack, has been under attack since about 6 o'clock our time this morning, when an American Airlines flight was hijacked from Boston Airport and deliberately flown into the World Trade Center, causing enormous damage. About 10 minutes later, another airplane flew into the second building of the World Trade Center. About 30 minutes later, another major airplane, we don't know yet where it's from, but it was reported to be another airliner jet, was then flown into the Pentagon building, causing unbelievable damage, attacking the Pentagon. And then probably about 20 minutes ago, the entire collapse of that second building in the World Trade Center that was jammed full of people. There was no way they could have evacuated that building. There was no way. You keep in mind, hundreds of thousands of people work in the building. Now imagine this. You're trying to evacuate a building. You cannot use the elevators. They simply won't let that happen. So you're walking down 100 stories to get out, and several of those stories literally, you probably can't get through because they're on fire. Remember, an airplane has just crashed through the buildings. So we literally may have had those people above that area trapped, waiting for rescue until the fires were out. And then 20 minutes later, the building collapses, literally collapses. And that is going to be a scene that will certainly go down in history. It's going to be 200 years from now. They'll be showing clips and tapes of the collapse of the World Trade Center.
Bill, we just got word that all international flights heading toward the United States have been diverted in flight, and they'll be landing in Canada.
Oh, my God. All right. I'm looking at pictures of the Pentagon building, and great billowing clouds of smoke are still coming from the Pentagon building. It almost looks like a forest fire. That's sort of the feeling you get. These huge billowing white clouds of smoke coming out. There obviously is a major conflagration happening at the Pentagon as that third airplane was plowed in.
Bill,
in the meantime,
if I can interrupt one more time,
Ken.
Associated Press is just now reporting that reports of a car bomb that's exploded outside the State Department, not confirmed as yet.
Well, it looks like we have a major concerted attack on the United States. Obviously, very well planned out. I think it's safe to say a foreign element is involved in this. There's no way that our idiot militiamen could have come up with this kind of a plan. We have right, I already said that. American flight number 11 from Boston, Massachusetts, was on its way to Los Angeles, and we'll still be hearing people who were on that airplane coming to L.A., so we're going to have some
If it's
local...
American Flight 11 from L.A. to Boston...
No, from Boston to L.A.
Well, it's being reported by Associated Press as Flight 11 from Los Angeles to Boston.
That was hijacked?
That's the flight they're talking about, yes.
Okay.
It's possible that it already dropped off its people in Boston. Or they could have it backwards in this report.
It could be, because I understand it was hijacked at Logan Airport, literally in Boston.
Right, it had taken off from Boston.
All right, so the people have been dropped off. But then I'm assuming that if it was an empty plane, that's at least several hundred people. Thank God that we're not on the airplane. All right, we're getting reports every few moments here. Car bomb right outside. What is this? The State Department. Yeah, it's just been reported a car bomb went off the State Department. We have not yet gotten confirmation on that. It also appeared that the collapse of the World Trade Center reported that there was a huge bomb at the bottom of the building. Because if you look at it logically, the airplane that crashed into that building crashed in about the 60th floor. The 60th floor. And that's not going to cause the collapse of a building. The way you collapse a building, of course, is at the base. And remember the bomb that went off, causing several $1 billion in 1993, the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center. That didn't do it either. So much you can't very well imagine that a plane crashing into about the 60th floor would cause a collapse. By the way, the LAPD has now been put on full tactical alert. We're assuming that that Los Angeles may very well be one of the targets. I can also assume that not only LAPD has been put on full tactical alert, I imagine it'll be just a matter of minutes before the other major cities in the United States, the police will be put on full tactical alert. We're assuming that we're at war. Effectively, this country has been attacked. That's the bottom line. We're just putting it together. Can you imagine what George Bush must be going through? I bet you he never planned on this. I bet you I bet you he wishes Al Gore had been elected president of the United States at this point. This is not one happy camper. I would not want to be the president of the United States. For those of you just tuning in, just to reiterate what happened is we wait for more news to come in, and I apologize for the repetition, but people come in and out of this broadcast every few minutes, so please keep in mind we have to keep people apprised of what's going on. Effectively, about 6 o'clock this morning, about an hour and a half, the World Trade Center was attacked by an airplane that crashed into it. It had been hijacked from Logan Airport. It was Flight 11, American Airlines. It says from Boston to Los Angeles. We're now getting reports it was from L.A. to Boston. We don't know whether people were dropped off. It happened after or just upon takeoff on the way out. We're getting mixed reports on that. That airplane went crashing into about the 80th floor of the World Trade Center. Direct suicide attack into the building. 10 minutes later, followed by a second airplane into the second building of the World Trade Center building. So now both buildings are on fire and smoke is billowing out. They're evacuating all the buildings. And about a half hour after that, a major explosion probably was seen at the base of that building number 2. And the World Trade Center building simply collapsed. Just collapsed on itself, 110 stories, hundreds of thousands of people were probably in the building at the time, tens of thousands of victims. We're now breaking for news, 628, Bill Handel. This is KFI AM640, more stimulating talk radio.
This is KFI.
Raining terror from the sky. Good morning, I'm Ken Gallagher. This is the 7:30 news here on KFI. You've been hearing from Bill Handel about the plane crashes in New York.
Ken, cut. The second World Trade Center building is now collapsing.
We now have 2 World Trade Center towers on the ground.
Second building now collapsing. This is unbelievable. This has to be the most successful concerted terrorist attack probably in the history of modern day. It has not collapsed. It has not collapsed. Yes, it is. Second World Trade Center building is collapsing. This is unbelievable, and I'm sure the evacuation was just going on. If you look at the skyline of New York, you will not see major monuments of the World Trade Center. We don't even know where this is going to go. Ken, you want to go back to the news?
All right.
The last flash, the second building of the World Trade Center has now collapsed.
All right, and then we have other developments. Let's go live to KFI's Mike Nolan with reports of a possible hijacked plane heading toward L.A.
Well, that is the initial report. Needless to say, we have no further details on that. We don't have any idea where the airplane is or what the status is, but I have not seen any aircraft in the sky. Indeed, we are heading back to our home airport, and we will be landing. Right now, the goal of the FAA is...
Ladies and gentlemen, 729, Bill Handel, has just been reported, confirmed. The second building of the World Trade Center has just been collapsed. We don't know where they were in the process of evacuating. We know that planes have crashed into the Pentagon building, both World Trade Centers. A bomb has gone off, a car bomb has gone off at the State Department. There is a hijacked plane coming into Washington, D.C. It's just been reported this morning.